You're watching Big 12 men's basketball on ESPN. Alumni Weekend in Stillwater, Oklahoma, where the Oklahoma State Cowboys have won back-to-back at home. Today they host the 19th ranked BYU Cougars. Alongside former sharpshooter Brendan Manzer, I'm James Wesley. BYU might be the biggest story in this league. Preseason picked 13th in the conference. Joel Lenardi's latest bracketology has them as a 5 seed in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, Mark Pope has a good ball club, James, and it's particularly on the offensive end. There's balance in their scoring. As you see, 7 players, 9 points or more, so it's hard to concentrate on certain personnel. Good point guard play with Dallin Hall. They move the ball great. Quickly, they share it. As a team, almost a 2-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio. So a fun offensive team. That's why for Oklahoma State this afternoon, Javon Small, like he is every game for Mike Boynton, extremely important. Really been consistent in his scoring. He's a pass-first point guard, James, but he's been good in point production, especially getting to the foul line and downhill. They want to attack BYU's defense in the half court. Here today was Small.
Averaging around 18 points per game in his last 3. Oklahoma State dressed in the home whites. They are 9-5 this season at home. BYU in the road black with blue trim. True road games for the Cougars. They stand at 2-4. Garrison jumping for the Cowboys. Waterman in the jump circle for BYU as Oklahoma State controls the tap.
You'll see Small in a lot of ball screen action today. And Keller in the starting lineup, that gives Oklahoma State multiple guards that Mike Boynton feels can get downhill.
Keller fires a 3 and he knocks it in.
So Keller's a confident freshman. You see his frame as well, physically ready at this level, even though he's young.
Starting lineup for BYU, they feature 3 seniors in their starting 5. Oklahoma State super young, youngest team in the league. Khalifa from the top of 3's too long. Offensive rebound, BYU.
Now, when you guard BYU, defensively, you're going to have 4 to 5 players on the floor that can space, stretch you out, and knock down the tray.
Johnson gets in deep and lays it home. Oklahoma State starting lineup features 2 freshmen, 2 sophomores. There was out Bryce Thompson at shoulder surgery earlier this week, done for the year. Williams in trouble. Small dashing baseline, rolled up at the rim by Khalifa, who throws it away. A rare BYU turnover. Williams on the attack. Garrison the follow, and he's fouled. Oklahoma State head coach Mike Boynton in his 7th season, 117 and 103. He has 23 top 25 wins as the head coach here in Stillwater. They are 0-5 against top 25 teams this season. They won 3 games a season ago against ranked teams.
In this league, as you know, James, always opportunity for those top 25 wins. Oklahoma State plays much better, at least finished much better at home than they have on the road. They've been in games, just haven't been able to close, but they were able to against K-State and West Virginia.
Garrison last time out, he was bothered by foul trouble.
Yeah, Mark Pope specifically talked to you and I last night about Garrison, about his upside and his future. But the impact that he makes at the rim for Oklahoma State, BYU aware of him. Will certainly be aware of him when they drive it to the paint here this afternoon.
BYU attempts and makes the second most 3s in the country as Hall nearly lost it out of bounds. Stays on this end. BYU coached by Mark Pope in his 5th season, 105 and 47. He was the fastest head coach in program history to hit 60 wins when he took over.
As we mentioned just a little bit ago, they've made almost a seamless transition to the Big 12, particularly offensively, in its physicality, which is what's been impressive. Just all the good defenses in this league.
Nell knocks down a 17-footer. Oklahoma State lost a close one last time out by 4 in the Bedlam series against Oklahoma, 66-62. Another bucket at the rim. They lead by 2 early on.
Well, and teams in this league know Oklahoma State really rely on making three-point shots, even though they don't shoot it great. So they're going to run Oklahoma State off the line.
Offensive rebound and a bunny at the rim for Dallin Hall.
So when you play BYU, James, obviously they shoot a lot of threes. In fact, they shot 12 more three-point shots than they've shot from two-point range. What happens is you have those long rebounds, right? So you have to be really disciplined on the perimeter. As BYU will attack the offensive glass, you got to check off.
Deflection out of bounds, stays with Oklahoma State. Everybody talks about the way BYU shoots the ball. To your point, they are second in this Big 12 conference in rebounding margin. They out-rebound teams by almost 8 per game.
Have some really good rebounding guards. And you bring Saunders in, Hall as a point guard gets in. Spencer Johnson, excellent rebound. So that's what helps BYU.
Nice pass. Garrison the finish.
Oklahoma State really wants to space BYU today. They think if they move it a little bit, they could get some isolated situations where they can attack off the bounce in case it was Garrison on a little pick and roll.
Nell missed the three. He's been cold from downtown. He's been bothered by a foot injury he suffered in January. Outside Keller, and the freshman has his second trifecta.
Tell you what, getting a start here this afternoon. The freshman, no nerves, just the guy that knows that he belongs at this level.
He came in with 8 makes on the entire season. He's already hit 2. Khalifa, double clutch, and he powers it down.
Well, obviously BYU, they're going to want to push in transition, and they do a great job spacing and spotting up for threes, James. But when they're in the half court, Khalifa's in there, he's going to touch it. He can really pass, has great vision. Teammates love playing off of him.
Small tries for a 3, it's short. Khalifa, number 50 for BYU. He is the best passing big man in the country. 80 assists to 27 turnovers as a corner 3 is through for Spencer Johnson.
Yeah, case in point. Now that's a simple play from Khalifa to Johnson. Oklahoma State, slow on the closeout. You have to be there, in the very least, on the catch against BYU, or they will torch you from long range.
John Michael Wright pulls the trigger and drills it from the corner. Third 3 for the Cowboys.
The one constant for Mike Boynton, since he was reinserted in the starting lineup 7 games ago, John Michael Wright. You just sense his experience. He's played really well, particularly offensively for Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State shoots it at a much higher clip here at home. Khalifa, 16-footer straight away, soft touch, gets the bounce. Garrison along 2, and he answers.
Well, how about a couple of freshmen for Oklahoma State, and they're starting. Keller and Garrison right there. Garrison, McDonald's All-American. Came to Oklahoma State, James. I mean, he's really a defense and rebound first type of big, really raw, but he continues to develop on the offensive end, and that's a good sign. Knocking down that elbow jumper if you're Mike Boynton.
Hall circling, finds Khalifa. That one pops out. The Oklahoma State freshmen, Keller and Garrison, have combined for 13 of their 16 so far. Taking flight, Keon Williams with the hammer.
Well, a great job right there, Oklahoma State, pushing, and then you have the space and you get the ball reversal. And that was a concern Mark Pope had coming into this game. Oklahoma State has athletic guards. The challenge of keeping them in front defensively.
Deflection, and Williams with the steal. And a breakaway. He'll lay it in this time. Oklahoma State has their largest lead. They've pushed it to 7. Forces a BYU timeout.
The BYU comes into Stillwater today, James, as one of the best offensive teams in the country. And how about the start from Oklahoma State? John Michael Wright, the 3. Myron Keller for Oklahoma State, playing well. And Keon Williams with the drive to the rim. Nice start for the Cowboys.
Guard Brendan Manzer. I'm James Westling. These are the top two teams in the Big 12 in terms of how many threes they attempt on a nightly basis. So far, Oklahoma State's been hot. They've started 3 for 4.
Yeah, and Mike Boynton in the offseason also built his team to be more offensive. Now, in Big 12 play, Oklahoma State is shooting under 30% from three-point range. And part of that is defense is keen on that, running them off the line. But off to a hot start here tonight against BYU, and one of the ways they've been able to be successful, James, is that Mike Boynton talked to us about defensive board play, and then they want to push it against BYU. Feel like they're more athletic in a few spots, and Oklahoma State at times labors in the half court. So far so good. But with a team that is young in a lot of spots, you have to be careful of falling in love with that three-point shot. So we'll see how Oklahoma State manages that as the game settles in.
Oklahoma State's on a 6-0 run. Freshmen and sophomores have combined for 17 of the Cowboys' 20. Dallin Hall, the floor general for BYU. Down low, Traore with the left. Gets the bounce. 6'6", 240. Has a 7'2" wingspan.
I love the combination of Traore and Khalifa because you have two different fives that cause you to cover them differently. You can throw it into the post. Traore, he's got really good touch. He's undersized, but he has a lot of length, and he's great when he gets an angle.
Hicklin enters the lineup where Oklahoma State missed that last 3. Over the top. And Hall with a rare turnover. Third miscue for BYU, and Dallin Hall doesn't turn it over much. He's had 1 or less in each of his last 7 games.
You know, been in this league a long time, unfortunately. And you always have a few players that you really enjoy watching. I love watching Dallin Hall play. He's got toughness and grit, makes big shots when necessary, but distributes it well to his teammates.
John Michael Wright fills it up. His second 3 from the corner. One of 16 active players with over 2,000 career points. And Oklahoma State has their largest lead.
Yeah, and over 283s in his career. You look at today, his 8th start in a row. Coming in, he's made 19 threes in his last 7 games, so he's shooting it consistently from long range.
Johnson, jump pass. 3 from Robinson is short. And BYU has started 1 for 5 from deep. Eric Daly Jr. bumping, left it short.
You see right there the physicality of BYU. Older player with experience, physically mature. Daly just a freshman. Resisted trying to turn the corner.
Traore working to his right, a miss. What are your thoughts on the looks that BYU is getting from the floor?
Well, they're getting deep post position to Traore. I would continue to do that. Typically, he's going to finish those when he has that matchup opportunity, James. And I think eventually Oklahoma State's going to have to decide if they want to double or not. But too many shooters out on the floor at times.
Tough shot from John Michael Wright. Oklahoma State's on an 11-2 run. They lead by 10. Cowboys have made 6 of their last 8 in a steal. Keller, the freshman, ahead of the pack. He's already in double figures with 10.
Well, not the start the Cougars want here in Stillwater. Mark Pope said 2 things have to happen today. You've got to take care of it, and they've got to share it. Not taking care of it right now.
Timeout on the floor. Hall draws the foul. Oklahoma State on a 7-0 flurry. They lead by 12.
Ready, set, 12 days, 10 venues. In the country.
Oklahoma State freshman guard Jamiron Keller already has 10 for the Cowboys.
Well, when Bryce Thompson went down after the Kansas game on January 30th, that provided some minutes in the opening for Keller. Now, Keller's talented. I mean, you see him physically. That's just a freshman right there. But he came to this level. his frame ready to go. And as he gains experience in decision making, you see what he's done. You know, he played sparingly in January, but the opportunity is there, right? So he's playing heavier minutes. He's getting better. But I think as long as he, James, continues to commit to downhill first. Now, he's knocked down a couple trays. That's great. But he's not a consistent shooter yet. But I think in the matchup today, after some movement, he gets some situations where he gets some space. I think he can cause BYU problems.
The backcourt duo of John Michael Wright and Keller have not missed a shot. They're 7 for 7 from the floor. And Hall at the line knocks it in. Oklahoma State leads by 11, shooting 68% from the floor in this first half. Trey Stewart checks in for the Cougars at the dead ball to try and provide some energy off the bench.
Yeah. Gotten back in there the last couple of games. 9 minutes in their last 2 contests. And he can give him good minutes. Really athletic. As long as he takes care of it, and he'll continue to potentially get more time out there on the floor.
Stewart's the founder of his own clothing company, Default Happiness. He's made stuff for Dwayne Wade, Gary Payton II, and Jordan Clarkson.
It's a pretty good clientele.
I'd say so. Cutting Daly Jr. had it stripped by Stewart. Shovels it ahead. Robinson flicks the rest around and out. And Garrison claims it for Oklahoma State, winning the glass 7-6. Right. Backdoor. Daly with the dunk.
And that's one of the things that Daly, even though he's young, he's really good at cutting away from the ball. That was a terrific flash as he saw that play develop.
It's a floater from Trevin Nell on the other end. BYU has started cold from deep, 1 for 6 from 3.
Yeah, and this is the end of the floor where they have to string stacks together. There's one. And this is certainly the Big 12, how you get back into ball games. Here's that last play. See the drive right here. Oklahoma State's been able to break down BYU defensively, force help. The nice cut from Eric Daly. Very smooth, high potential offensive player for Oklahoma State.
What have you seen from Oklahoma State defensively so far to limit BYU to 1 for 6 from 3?
Well, with the exception of a couple of times in transition, BYU wasn't able to make Oklahoma State pay. I mean, they're getting to that 3-point line and running BYU off of it. Now, if you do that, a lot of times you're put in help situations, so then the rotation's got to be good. And for Oklahoma State so far, they've been able to be pretty solid defensively.
Shot put jumper from Richie Saunders.
Yeah, I like Saunders. I was in Provo for the Iowa State game last month, and I asked folks specifically about Saunders, Coach Provo, and he said, well, it was hard to keep off the floor because he only knows one speed, and that goes 110% all the time.
Hicklin rings it up from the top. A transfer from North Florida, shoots almost 40% from 3 for his collegiate career. And Oklahoma State still hot, 5 for 7 from 3. The rebuttal sputters way off. Rebound tap to a Cowboy. Garrison one-on-one in the post, muscles it up and draws a 2-shot foul. Oklahoma State by a dozen.
Yeah, Hicklin is a good spot-up shooter. As you see Hicklin right there, knock it down. Transfer from North Florida. Really has shot it consistently well throughout the season. Not as good as of late. 0-6 from 3-point range the last 3, but the reputation is there, right? So teams know they've got to extend on him. Does a really good job of head fake, ball fake on those defenders closing out to get his open looks.
Garrison splits the pairing. Khalifa clears for BYU. Oklahoma State shooting a blistering 72%. They've connected on 13 of their first 18 shots from the floor. But BYU, they can score in bunches. Snell from the top around the screen off the attachment. 3 white jerseys in the neighborhood to clear it.
Yeah, and you mentioned it earlier, James. That's really been important, and a good thing here the first half for Oklahoma State is defensive board play. That obviously allows you to get that board and get out and run, and allows Oklahoma State to get in some offensive rhythm.
Harrison squaring and shooting. Ball stuck to the back rim. Oklahoma State with their largest lead once again. It's up to 15 here in this first half. Robinson, fall away. That is pure.
Yeah, that's a great part of this game. Obviously making those threes that you have to respect Robinson. You saw him come off the curl right there. Nice mid-range game, very smooth.
The lob can't finish at the rim. Tracked down by a Cowboy. Diagonal skip. Keller. A deflection and a steal. BYU with numbers, 3-on-1. Robinson keeps contested at the rim, and he sticks it anyway.
A nice job right there. BYU had Oklahoma State a little bit just disjointed there offensively. But there's now they'll run man. They'll run some of this 1-3-1 and then get back into a matchup. Right now, switching things up to try to keep Oklahoma State off balance.
Daly missing the rim, punched out.
Good cut right there by Daly. But you notice you got to go right at Khalifa's chin. And he held up the last moment. You got to take it with strength in this league.
Outside Robinson, a clean look, but off. Khalifa trying to fetch the offensive rebound. Drive and kick. Saunders 3. Too strong, and BYU is 1 for 10 from downtown, the top scoring team in the league. Around the wheel. Hicklin flicks the wrist. BYU cleaning up the boards.
Yeah, she'll take that look right there if you're Oklahoma State. We're doing a decent job, James. When you go against any kind of zone, or man for that matter, you got to get the ball below the free throw line and get it as flat as you can. Oklahoma State was able to get it basically in a short corner and then swing it to a good shooter in Hickman on that weak side.
Just over 5 minutes left in this first half. BYU so dangerous. No lead is safe because of how well they shoot the ball. Oklahoma State missed 3 from the corner from Daly Jr. BYU on the move. Nell leaking out for an easy one. Timeout Oklahoma State. BYU's on a 6-0 run. We head to a timeout. Oklahoma State's lead has been trimmed to 9.
BYU, I mean, some looks that they're going to eventually knock down. I mean, Mark Pope's guys can shoot. You're talking about a team that has 6 guys that have made 25 or more trays on the year. It's this end of the floor. And Oklahoma State shoots under 40% in Big 12 conference play. They're shooting 61% right now. And so this is where BYU can overcome coming out flat and in the half, as you get the final 5 minutes, and kind of push the reset button and capture some momentum. So to me, it's less about 1 of 11 and way more about getting stops.
BYU has been able to hang around because they have 6 second chance points on 4 offensive rebounds. They're on a 6-0 run. The throwback to Khalifa lines up a 3, too strong. Rebound, Johnson has it for the Cougars. 5th offensive rebound for BYU. Skip to Waterman for a 3, no, and the Cougars are 1 for 13 from downtown. Oklahoma State fumbles the miss out of bounds. Oklahoma State has missed their last 5 field goals on offense. BYU's on a run of 6-0 over the last 3-11.
And what Oklahoma State has to do, at some point they were going to cool down from long range. And so you have to read tempo in the game, especially with those guards out front. Oklahoma State's got to start getting back to going downhill. Nice play right there.
Hook it in to Khalifa. Turnaround Gophers out, and then he fouls over the back. Fourth team foul for BYU. Another timeout. Oklahoma State by 9.
I know.
A long time, and it's an outstanding young man, and you hate for anybody to have a season-ending injury, especially a guy so important to his team. You know, offensively, he's a guy, one of those guys in the league that he makes a bucket or two. Like, his points would come in bunches quickly, but it's part of it. I mean, most teams, they deal with sickness, they deal with injuries, but what that's allowed is you see Jermiron Keller up front for Oklahoma State, the freshman, more opportunity. John Michael Wright now has a heavier load and more responsibility. So Oklahoma State's players, for the most part, have responded since Thompson has been out, at least offensively.
9 to shoot for the Cowboys, a near turnover. Bryce Thompson does have one more year of eligibility remaining, so it's not necessarily career-ending. He has a COVID year left. Oklahoma State's in a lot of trouble with 5 to shoot. Javon Small trying to hoist. Doesn't get the whistle. Ahead to Hall. Bothered at the rim and the rebound. Keon Williams.
Boy, I love what BYU did out of the timeout with trapping up near the half-court line. But Hall right there, uncharacteristic. He usually drives it with toughness. He avoided that Keller contest at the rim.
Hall's 3. Rebound. Ripped down by Traore. Back to the rack, trying to get off the floor. Marshes it on the fun for Oklahoma State. It's off the leg of a Cowboy. It stays with BYU. It is getting physical here in the final 4 minutes.
And Traore missed the bunny right there. He's missed a couple. Khalifa's missed a couple. So it hasn't been pretty, but I love what Waterman did right there. When you are struggling offensively, when you typically things go smoother for you, you have to find other ways. And Waterman, he was the key right there to keeping this possession alive.
Oklahoma State hasn't scored in almost 5 minutes, but they still lead. And a double dribble. Dallin Hall commits the 5th BYU turnover, and that is his 2nd.
Yeah, just a little bit off right there. You saw what you had inside. Traore had Javon Small on his backside right there. If you BYU, just in your Hall, back up a couple of dribbles and throw it right into it. I know they've missed some close ones. I think Mark Pope would like to continue to go down there, especially when it's advantageous matchup-wise.
And a correction, that is the 3rd Dallin Hall turnover. Oklahoma State gives it right back. Hall ahead, one-on-one. Clean look for Waterman, and he drills it.
Yeah, I like what Waterman is bringing. You can see it. He's got great energy. When he started the game, he was a little flat, uncharacteristically, you could tell. But right now, he's certainly bringing an edge to BYU and bringing it back into it.
Just the 2nd BYU 3. Small's rebuttal. Sixth Oklahoma State 3. And the first points for Javon Small, Oklahoma State's leading scorer on the season at around 16 per night. Robinson draws a whistle, and he'll head to the line to shoot a pair for the Cougars.
So here's what BYU wants. It's almost like they are trying everything they can not to take a 2. You know, Hall had a lane to the basket, but this is what they do. They force you to help. They move it great. They share it well. And there's Waterman with the tray. And what's amazing, we mentioned it earlier, James, if the trend continues, which you think it would, BYU would end up shooting more threes during the season than 2s. And that's only happened a couple of times in the history of college basketball.
They attempt over 32 per night. Robinson splashes through the first free throw. And they make almost 12 per game. That's 2nd in the entire nation. They're also 2nd in the country in assists per game. The analytics are off the charts. They're 19th in the country, 7th among Power 5 schools. in points per game, and they're 8th in KenPom's adjusted offense, which is points per 100 possessions.
We talked about it earlier with them offensively. Like I said, I wasn't concerned about the poor three-point shooting so far. As long as they take care of it and move it, which they're typically going to do, those points will catch back up.
From the corner, bullseye. John Michael Wright. That's his third three. He's the game's top scorer. He has 11.
And I like this lineup right now for Mike Boynton. When you have those three guards, Keller, John Michael Wright, and Javon Small. With ball movement, you get that ball to the big on the baseline, you swing it. John Michael Wright, who's been shooting it great as of late, able to catch in rhythm and knock it down. Mike Boynton being able to play those three small guards in this particular game because they're able to match up defensively with BYU because they're so perimeter oriented.
Oklahoma State is the second lowest scoring team in the Big 12. They average 70 points per game, but they've been much better at home. They've won 2 in a row. They beat K-State on the 3rd, 75-72. They beat West Virginia 70-66 on January 27th.
So if I'm BYU, again, you have a chance.
Small hits the dot on another three.
I hesitated because I noticed that they did not pick up Small up the floor. He just made a three a little bit early that I was going to go into. They need to close out with stops.
A Cowboy steal. Over to Keller. And one. A freshman has a dozen already for Oklahoma State, and they lead by a dozen.
Well, the pressure from Oklahoma State, their guards, we just mentioned it. You could throw Keon Williams in there as the fourth guard, causing BYU problems. And when you play them, you want to make them uncomfortable. And if you can make them uncomfortable and turn them over, then you got a chance for offense produced by your defense. And Keller, the freshman, has been outstanding so far, start to finish here in the first half.
67% free throw shooter, caps off the three-point play, and Oklahoma State leads by 13 inside of a minute before we break for the half. Oklahoma State has held one of the best shooting teams in the entire country to 2 for 15 from 3. Robinson's heating up for BYU on this end. He has 9 of the Cougars' last 14. They go inside to Traore. Robinson, catch and release 3, around and out. John Michael Wright, trapped in the hot corner. Fans wanting a whistle, and Oklahoma State's Mike Boynton burns a timeout. Cowboys are on a 6-0 run. This BYU team looks stunned here on the road, with Oklahoma State up by 13. How about Oklahoma State's physicality so far in this first half? That was something that BYU coach Mark Pope was concerned about. He said, on the road, it's a completely different ballgame in terms of physicality and the way games are officiated, too.
Yeah, no doubt. When you talk about the physical nature in basketball, I think you automatically think of the interior. And obviously that's important, that 4 and 5 position with your bigs. But where this league and what Oklahoma State is doing this afternoon, it's a physical part of the game on the perimeter. We talked about Keller being a freshman, but his body's ready-made for this level. Javon Small, third-year guy. John Michael Wright, a fifth-year player. And as well as Oklahoma State has shot it, they've moved it well, they've advanced it really well up the floor in transition. Again, this league, what does it go back to, James? I repeat myself multiple times every day. It's about the defensive end of the floor. And that's what's been good for Oklahoma State.
BYU coach Pope told us that he built this team with shooters because he didn't think BYU could compete right away in the Big 12 with the physicality that the league offers, the top conference in the country. Now, it's worked for the Cougars.
Oh, absolutely.
Projected as a 5 seed in the NCAA tournament, they're 19th in the country.
Absolutely. I think it was obviously wise, and they play differently than just about every other team in the league right now.
Down to 3 to shoot, a fall away, a tough one short. Offensive rebound, Williams, and he uses the glass. 5 seconds. Oklahoma State, they lead by 15 at the half. An 8-0 run to end the first session. It's all Cowboys here at home. Jamiron Keller with 13 at the break. Coming up at the half, it's Alumni Day here in Stillwater. We'll take a look back at the 2004 Cowboys Final Four team and an infamous practice legendary coach Eddie Sutton held after a loss to BYU. We'll update a big day around the Big 12 and we'll look at stats and highlights. It's been all...
Isn't
A Final Four led by Tony Allen, John Lucas, Joey Graham, and company. That team was absolutely loaded.
And another great coaching move by Eddie Sutton. Having played for him, James, it's interesting. I had so many people over the years say, did you think that he would really do something like absolutely? Because his teams were built on toughness, particularly defensive end, and they had gotten out-rebounded by BYU in Salt Lake by 23. And that really changed the complexion of their team. They go on to 31-4 record, as you mentioned, make it to the Final Four, and became one of the great teams in Oklahoma State history and most beloved because they were so outstanding defensively first and foremost, and then offensively really skilled with John Lucas at point guard position, distributing to several future NBA players. So great time. Can't believe it's been 20 years ago.
31-4. That team made the Final Four 20 seasons ago. More halftime coming up next. We're in Stillwater, Oklahoma for BYU and Oklahoma State.
Billions more for HBCUs, endless possibilities for us.
Welcome back inside historic Gallagher-Iba Arena here in Stillwater, Oklahoma. We're at the half, the first meeting between these two programs since 2003, Oklahoma State and BYU.
Oklahoma State is more than a university. We are a promise to inspire, to demand more from ourselves, and be leaders on a global scale. A promise to create, to solve the world's most complex problems, and to give back to our communities. At OSU, we are a promise to forever be loyal and true. Here at the nation's premier land-grant university, orange is the answer.
Here's one thing we can all agree on.
And 4 under Eddie Sutton and company. As we welcome you back inside historic Gallagher-Iba Arena alongside former Oklahoma State guard Brendan Manzer. I'm James Westleen. At the break, Oklahoma State leads at 49-34. Brendan, most points scored by the Cowboys in a half this season in Big 12 play. What stood out offensively for OSU?
Well, my point came into this emphasizing defensive board play. And particularly understanding that because BYU shoots threes, you're going to have a lot of long rebounds. For the most part, they did that well. And when they did it well, James, they were able to get out and run. And they were advancing the ball forward with the pass. And they were getting space in transition. And their athleticism advantage over BYU showed when those guys got space, drew help, and started moving the ball.
Oklahoma State freshman guard Jamiron Keller, 13 points in the first half. Him and John Michael Wright, they were on fire for Oklahoma State.
Well, Keller gets the start and played like a guy that had been starting all season long. And certainly didn't play like a freshman in his debut out of the gate. He was terrific, and anytime you knock down a shot or two, that's going to give you confidence. Then the rest of the team gets going. John Michael Wright continues great leadership, shoots the ball well. He drives it at the right time, too, where you have to respect that. So Oklahoma State, outstanding offensively, but BYU, in turn, has to be better on the defensive end of the floor in the second half.
Our first half game summary, as it's all Oklahoma State. Wright and Keller have combined for 24 for the Cowboys. Jackson Robinson, 9 at the break for BYU. Points in the paint, Oklahoma State 18-14. And there's the BYU three-point shooting. Second in the country in made threes per game, almost 12 per night. 2 for 16 in the first half.